I do serve in the 35th Legislative District. I have done so for the last 12 years. There are still a few members, people that I see in the room that helped us turn this district red. It was blue for almost 80 years before we turned this district red. I was so committed to take this seat back from that Democrat who voted to suspend the 2/3 majority to raise taxes that I ran 6 years straight. I have something in common with the candidate that we came here to support tonight. I just want to say, and I want to point out, look at this beautiful place that we have here. About 5 years ago, I met two very frustrated ladies that run this community center, and they found out I was in the legislature, and they wondered if I could help them. We want to save this beautiful building. And you know, the three of us in the 35th District, Senator McEwen and myself and Travis Couture, we've dedicated ourselves to making sure that if we can help out our communities, have community centers to where they can reinvigorate community, where they can figure out they can be less reliant on government, because they have a community center where community can get together like we used to and take care of one another. It's a mission of ours, if you will, and I am so proud of that group, what they were able to do with the small amount of money that we gave them. Isn't this a wonderful venue? The 35th District is rural from here, you know, because all of you that from Kitsap County, they keep asking me, where's 35 in Kitsap County? Right here. It goes up to almost Silverdale, right? We go to Rochester in the south, and we have all of Mason County. So we are lucky in 35 that we have one demographic, that's a rural demographic. And they think a lot like us. They think, I think they think like Rick. This district, this area has the largest amount of copper theft between this part of Kitsap County and the close adjacent part of Mason County, has the largest amount of copper theft in the state of Washington by 10 times. It's because we do not have as many law enforcement officers that can be regularly out watching those happen. You can commit these type of heinous crimes, stealing people's ability to call 911. Yes, out in 35, the rural parts of 35, we don't have fiber optic communication. We have copper line communication, old Ma Bell stuff. When you take 16 or 5 miles of copper, you take away for a long time someone's ability to call 911. Because the other thing that we suffer from out here is we don't have much cellular service. We have a lot of trees, and it's pretty tough with all these trees for us to have a lot of cell service. We all suffered those things together. The other horrible thing about the copper theft is they don't make much copper anymore. Mostly they make fiber. So the utility districts that have to re-establish those services have to wait sometimes a year. And they're fined. Because they're telecommunications providers, they're fined for every day that the service is down. The reason I'm here and the reason I'm supporting Rick is because I think, I heard him the other day, and I've heard him for years, he wants to reestablish community policing, and he wants to enable the communities to take care of themselves. I do believe this place, and a lot of places like this in the 35th and all over Kitsap County, would become community centers that he organizes, that he has community policing activities. I've heard him talk about all of those things. I've heard him talk about getting after crime before somebody becomes a victim. Isn't that a novel idea? Catching the thief that wants to steal someone's telecommunications ability, their ability to call 911. Catching someone before they start a full-blown meth house or a fentanyl distribution area. The horrible thing, the best and worst parts of being rural is you don't have a lot of eyes on you. The reason I like living rural, and I've spent my entire time in a rural area, is because really, I like my thoughts. I like my family's thoughts. I don't like government telling me what I can and cannot do. I've served for 12 years on the Public Safety Committee, and I'll tell you what, it's criminal what they have done to law enforcement in that place. They've made horrible, horrible decisions that not only hurt law enforcement officers, but they hurt the people law enforcement officers swore an oath to protect. They do everything they can in their power to take away law enforcement's ability to proactively go after crime, and they make excuses for every criminal in the state of Washington. You know, I am a God-fearing person, and I put God first in my life, God, family, and country, right? And they all go in a quick succession. God didn't say we should ignore crime. We need to hold people accountable, and I think our good Lord would agree with me. We need to hold people accountable, and once they showed accountability, welcome them back to society with open arms, and I think we can do that when we have a sheriff like Rick. Because of Rick and his faith, I believe he's going to use his faith in his policing. He's going to know when somebody needs to have a hard hammer. He's going to know when somebody needs to be driven to a detox facility. He's going to be able to determine whether somebody needs to go to jail or they need to go to a mental hospital and get fixed. I know this about him because he's a Republican and he's a good person. That have been done to law enforcement, to all of us in Washington State that hurts our public safety, our predictability in being safe in our community. Even with all of those laws they passed, the sheriff of a county has the ability to set the tone and tenor, and they do not have to rely on all of Washington State's laws. He made a commitment in a speech I heard him talk just the other day about community policing. The state of Washington didn't say that a sheriff, they don't say anywhere what his priorities have to be. The sheriff, the community sets those priorities, and he says that his priority is going to be able to take, he wants to take the diminishing resources they got and devote them to going out and rooting out those hot spots in the county, so those of us that live around here can feel stable and predictable in our lives. And I do believe, if you vote for Rick, that you are going to have and experience what you want to experience, a more safe Kitsap County. My 35th district, Kitsap County residents will have a more safe 35th district. Predictability and stability of one's lives is what community depends on. You know, when I grew up in the little town of Allen, it was about 1976, everybody's moms had to go to work. You know, gas crunch and all that kind of stuff started happening. We're just getting out of Vietnam War. The economy was pretty terrible. My mom had to go back to work. And you know, I like to say I was a little bit Tom Sawyer and a little bit Huck Finn because, you know what, there was only grandmas in that town. Everybody in that town could either put Bactine on my boo-boo or paddle my behind for what I did wrong, and then I'd get my behind paddled one more time when I got home because, well, I'll tell you what, the network was already done. And you know, when you know that the county sheriffs and the county sheriff brings you home and talks to your mom and dad, that might be something, well, maybe, you know, I don't want to talk too much about that, but the community that I grew up in was stable, it was predictable. If our car was missing, because my parents they didn't put keys on in some lockbox anywhere, they put keys in the ignition because if you didn't, we would lose them. If the car was gone, somebody needed it and they borrowed it. If our lawnmower was missing, we never worried about the lawnmower was not going to come back. It was going to come back, it would have been serviced, and it would have come back full of fuel. Well, thank you, no, sorry, Dell, but we needed to mow the lawn, and you know, if you missed it, my dad probably didn't miss it because he was so busy. Until I got old enough to mow the lawn, it didn't get mowed very much. Well, you know, I could talk on and on and on. I think I've talked the length of time that they said they wanted me to talk, but they told me that they wanted me to go I really would, one last plug. The House Republican Caucus needs your help as well. We have 3 opportunities, real opportunities in Kitsap County to pick up seats to help us out in the legislature. Our governor has stated point blank that he wants a supermajority. That would be the House losing 1 more seat. He wants a supermajority so he can amend the Constitution without Republican votes. We cannot allow that to happen. We need your support. All of you that are in the 35th, I need you to vote for me and my 2 seatmates. I really need it. I need you to support those other candidates in the 26th Legislative District. We really need it. And I'm sorry I failed to mention that we have another sheriff from Pierce County here that follows the, I think, is a trailblazer, and I think Rick is going to model his service after the great sheriff of Pierce County. Thank you all so much for your time, and I'm sorry that I might